The American Princess by Logan Griffith. The first rays of the August sun, still shy and tentative, were just beginning to paint the sky in soft hues of rose and lavender when I tiptoed into the kitchen. The house was quiet, a rare and precious commodity in the Davenport household. My dad, Mike, was already mentally clocking in at his office job, lost in spreadsheets and quarterly reports. My mom, Jane, a nurse with a heart as big as her work ethic, would be doing her pre-dawn meditation, a silent ritual that always preceded the whirlwind of her day. And Sophia, well, Sophia would be meticulously crafting her image for the impending school year, her locker decorations, her Pinterest boards, her perfectly airbrushed selfies. My role, as always, was the quiet hum beneath the surface of their lives. The one who ensured the coffee was brewed, the lunches packed, the laundry folded, the bills paid. The one who smoothed the ruffled feathers, held the loose threads, and kept the engine running. I was Emma Davenport, age 18, senior, singer, and the unwitting architect of my family's comfortable chaos. Sophia Davenport, age 18, senior, cheerleader, and the undisputed golden child, was the sun around which our universe orbited. Her laughter was a tinkling bell, her smile a blinding supernova, and her achievements, no matter how small or superficial, were celebrated with the fervor usually reserved for national holidays. Morning. Honey, my mom's voice, still soft from sleep, drifted from the living room. She emerged, her meditation shawl draped over her shoulders, a serene smile gracing her lips. Morning, Mom, I replied, expertly pouring her a mug of coffee. Did you sleep well? Like a log, thank goodness. Big day today, isn't it? Sophia's cheerleading tryouts. She glanced towards the closed door of Sophia's room, a wistful fondness in her eyes. She's been practicing that new tumbling pass for weeks. I nodded, stirring my own coffee. The new tumbling pass. The possibility of a minor scratch on her perfectly manicured knee. The potential for a less than stellar social media engagement. These were the crises that occupied Sophia's world. My world was filled with something far more substantive, yet infinitely less acknowledged. Music. My voice was my escape, my solace, my secret weapon. I sang in the shower, in the car, in the empty auditorium after school. I poured my heart and soul into melodies, weaving stories of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. It was a language I understood, a connection that felt more real than any conversation I'd ever had with my father about his latest project, or my mother about the latest patient's recovery. Sophia, on the other hand, excelled at speaking the language of applause. She was a natural performer, her every move calculated for maximum impact, whether on the football field or in the presence of our parents. She had a knack for knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to deliver it with a dazzling smile that could melt glaciers. The morning rush began. I was already chopping vegetables for my mom's lunch when Sophia finally emerged, a vision in pastel athleisure. Her hair was meticulously braided, her makeup flawless. She yawned dramatically, then floated into the kitchen, her steps light and airy. Morning, everyone, she chirped, her voice like a perfectly tuned instrument. She sauntered to the fridge, her gaze sweeping over the organized shelves. Emma, darling, did you remember to pick up my protein shake mix yesterday? The vanilla almond one? My stomach clenched. I'd been so focused on the grocery list, on picking up my dad's favorite brand of artisanal sourdough, and my mom's specialty herbal tea, that I'd completely forgotten Sophia's protein powder. Oh, Soph, I'm so sorry, I stammered, my cheeks flushing. I got so busy with everything else, it slipped my mind. Sophia's perfect brow furrowed. Busy with everything else? What exactly is everything else? Her voice, though not overtly harsh, carried a subtle accusation, a practiced air of disappointment that always seemed to land squarely on my shoulders. My mom, sensing the rising tension, stepped in. It's okay, Sophia. Emma's been a great help this summer. I'll run to the store after my shift and pick some up for you, sweetie. Sophia beamed at my mom, her eyes sparkling. You're the best mom." Then she turned back to me, a patronizing smile playing on her lips. "Don't worry about it, Em. I can always make do. Just try to be a little more organized next time, okay?" The silent implication hung heavy in the air. If you were as organized and attuned to my needs as you are to everyone else's. The rest of the morning followed its usual pattern. I made sure Sophia had her lucky hair tie, her water bottle, and her perfectly ironed uniform. I listened to her rehearsed speeches about her aspirations, her vision boards, her strategic plans for college applications, all delivered with the certainty of someone who had never faced a real obstacle. Meanwhile, I was quietly packing my own lunch, grabbing my worn-out guitar case, and mentally running through the lyrics to a new song I'd been working on. My dad appeared briefly, a rushed peck on my mom's cheek, a gruff "see you tonight," and he was out the door. He rarely engaged beyond pleasantries, his mind perpetually elsewhere. I was the buffer, the quiet presence that absorbed the unspoken. At Northwood High, the air crackled with the electricity of senior year. Lockers slammed, laughter echoed, and the scent of cheap perfume and anxious ambition filled the hallways. Sophia, as expected, was the center of attention. Her squad, a gaggle of equally polished cheerleaders, buzzed around her like attentive bees. "Sophia, you are going to nail those tryouts," one of them squealed, her voice shrill. "Of course she is," another chimed in, her eyes flicking towards me as I walked past, my guitar case slung over my shoulder. "Sophia's a natural. She's always been the star." The word stung, a familiar ache that I'd learned to compartmentalize. Stella, the undisputed queen bee of the cheerleading squad, was Sophia's closest confidant, and her pronouncements always carried the weight of divine decree. I found refuge in the music room, a sanctuary filled with the scent of old wood and the echoes of countless melodies. Mr. Harrison, our eccentric but brilliant music teacher, was already there, tuning his ancient piano. "Emma, my dear songbird," he boomed, his eyes crinkling behind his thick glasses. "What have you brought for us today?" I smiled, a genuine, unforced smile that rarely graced my face at home. "Something new, Mr. Harrison. It's about feeling invisible." He nodded, his gaze perceptive. "Ah, a theme close to many hearts, I suspect. Let's hear it." As I sang, pouring all the unspoken frustrations, the quiet resentments, the yearning for recognition into the melody, I felt a release. The notes lifted me, carried me away from the weight of expectation, from the shadow of my sister's golden glow. Mr. Harrison listened intently, his head tilted, a rare look of profound concentration on his face. When I finished, the silence in the room was profound, broken only by the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. "Beautiful, Emma," he said finally, his voice laced with warmth. "Truly beautiful. You have a gift. A rare and precious gift." His words were a balm to my soul, a tiny ember of validation in the often frigid landscape of my home life. The tryouts were a spectacle. Sophia, of course, was flawless. She executed every move with precision, her smile never faltering. The judges, impressed by her athleticism and her undeniable charisma, deliberated for what felt like an eternity. When the results were posted, her name was at the top, a triumphant exclamation point. The cheers erupted. Sophia was hoisted onto her friend's shoulders, a queen accepting her crown. My parents beamed, their faces alight with pride. My dad even managed a rare, booming laugh. "That's my girl," he declared, clapping Sophia on the back. My mom, her eyes shining, hugged Sophia tightly. "I knew you'd do it, darling." I stood on the periphery, a silent observer. My contribution to Sophia's victory had been making sure her pom-poms were perfectly fluffed, and that she'd had her lucky pre-tryout snack. My own musical ambitions felt like a distant whisper in the face of this overwhelming celebration. That evening, the house was filled with the effervescent glow of Sophia's triumph. She recounted every detail of her performance, punctuating her narrative with exaggerated gestures and dramatic sighs. My parents hung on her every word, their faces a picture of rapt adoration. And then Sophia said, her voice hushed with mock seriousness, when I landed that final flip. I swear I heard a collective gasp from the audience. It was electric. My dad chuckled. That's my girl, always putting on a show. My mom nodded, her eyes misty. You were simply magnificent, Sophia. I was in the kitchen, clearing away the dinner plates, the clatter of ceramic, a dull counterpoint to Sophia's triumphant monologue. I tried to interject, to share a small success from my own day, a particularly challenging chord progression I'd finally mastered, a new lyrical idea that had sprung to life. Mom, Dad, I began, my voice a little shaky. I was working on a new song today, and I think I finally cracked the bridge section. It's about. Sophia's voice cut through mine, sharp and dismissive. Emma, can you please get me another glass of water? My throat is a little dry from all the cheering. My shoulders slumped. The bridge section, the lyrical idea, my own small victory, it all evaporated. I filled a glass with water, my hand trembling slightly, and handed it to Sophia. She took a delicate sip, her gaze never leaving the conversation she was having with my parents. It's just that, Sophia continued, her voice laced with the practiced sincerity that always disarmed our parents. I feel like I'm really starting to find my voice these days. My voice as a leader, as an athlete. It's so important to have that clarity, that purpose. Her words, intended to highlight her own perceived strengths, inadvertently underscored my own perceived lack of them. What was my voice? A melody lost in the din of her accomplishments. Later that night, long after Sophia had retired to her room to chronicle her victory on social media, I sat in my room, my guitar resting on my lap. The moon, a sliver of silver against the velvet sky, cast long shadows across my room. I strummed a chord, then another, searching for the melody that could encapsulate the ache in my chest. The unfairness of it all gnawed at me. I was the responsible one, the capable one, the one who kept the wheels of our family turning. I excelled in academics. I was a dedicated musician. I was the one who remembered birthdays and booked appointments. Yet, it was Sophia, with her effortless charm and her superficial achievements, who basked in the perpetual spotlight. My parents weren't intentionally cruel. They were simply blinded by the dazzling glare of their golden child. Sophia was the easy one, the one who demanded little beyond admiration and affirmation. I was the quiet one, the one who asked for nothing, and therefore, received nothing. My needs, my dreams, my efforts seemed to fade into the background, unnoticed and undervalued. I started to sing, a low, mournful melody that spoke of unspoken grievances and a yearning for acknowledgement. In the shadow of your shine, I fade away, my melodies unheard, lost in the day. While you dance in the light, so free and bold, my silent symphony remains untold. As I sang, a flicker of anger ignited within me, a righteous flame that had been smoldering for years. Anger was an unfamiliar emotion for me, usually buried beneath layers of quiet resignation. But tonight, it felt necessary. It felt like a catalyst. I thought about Mr. Harrison's words, "You have a gift. A rare and precious gift." He saw it. He recognized it. Why couldn't my own family? A resolve began to form, slow and steady, like a rising tide. I couldn't continue to be the invisible engine. I couldn't continue to pour my energy into a void that offered no reciprocation. My voice, my music, it was more than just a hobby. It was a part of me, a vital, essential part. And it deserved to be heard. The next morning, the house was, as usual, a hive of activity. Sophia was already planning her celebratory photo shoot, her phone glued to her hand. My mom was rushing to get to her nursing shift, a hurried kiss and a reminder to clean the gutters. My dad was on a conference call, his back to the room, his voice a low drone. I walked into the living room, my guitar case in hand. Sophia looked up, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. "What are you doing with that thing? Aren't you supposed to be helping Mom with the groceries?" I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of reckoning. "Actually, Sophia," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I'm not going to the grocery store today. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my senior year ensuring everyone else's needs are met while mine are completely ignored. Sophia blinked, momentarily taken aback by my directness. I'm going to the studio, I continued, the words flowing with a newfound confidence. Mr. Harrison has agreed to let me use the sound equipment after school. I have a recording I want to work on. My dad, startled by the interruption, turned from his laptop. What's this, Emma? Studio? You have responsibilities here. My responsibilities have been carrying this family's domestic load for years, Dad, I said, my voice unwavering. While she does what she does best, shine. I looked at Sophia, her perfectly sculpted pout now replaced by a look of bewildered disbelief. And that's fine. But I have my own shine to find. My own voice to develop. My mom, who had paused at the doorway, her work bag slung over her shoulder, looked at me with a mixture of surprise and concern. Emma, honey, are you sure about this? It's senior year. You have so much to do. I'll do what needs to be done, Mom, I replied, my gaze meeting hers. But I won't be the only one doing it anymore. And I won't be sacrificing my own aspirations to maintain the illusion of perfect harmony. I walked out of the living room, the click of the front door behind me a punctuation mark. The sun felt warm on my face, a stark contrast to the cool, shadowed existence I had become accustomed to. I didn't know what the future held, what battles I would have to fight, or how my family would react, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of my own agency.